How would I describe the last year? Oh dear, these are really big questions that I need half an hour to talk about.
Strange.
Mosul. Victory over ISIS in Mosul.
In a significant international victory, the Islamic State lost their largest territory stronghold to Iraqi and Kurdish forces, backed by a United States-led coalition, after a 9-month-long offensive to liberate the city of Mosul from ISIL militants. As Yemen continued to grapple with its ongoing civil war, a Saudi Arabian-led coalition amplified its airstrike campaign against anti-government rebels, which resulted in dozens of civilian fatalities and exacerbated the existing humanitarian crisis. In a historic but controversial referendum, citizens living in the autonomous Kurdistan region of Iraq voted overwhelmingly in favour of independence. The divisive vote escalated regional tensions and triggered a military response from Baghdad, who sought to suppress the independence movement. Syria's hopes of competing in what would have been the country's first FIFA World Cup was shattered after the underdog team made it through a number of qualifying matches but lost 2-1 to the Australian Socceroos. November was defined by two particularly devastating events. A 7.3 magnitude earthquake struck the Iran-Iraq border and left over 530 people dead and over 7,000 injured. And in the Sinai region in Egypt, suspected Islamic State militants detonated explosives and then opened fire inside a crowded mosque, which killed 305 and injured 128. At the end of 2017, President Donald Trump announced that the United States would formally recognize the contested city of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The decision contradicted 7 decades of American foreign policy and drew worldwide criticism that it would inflame the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Widespread civilian protests against Iran's struggling economy intensified in the new year, when the regime's repression of demonstrations resulted in the death of over 20 protesters and the arrest of thousands. While in Saudi Arabia, a government-led anti-corruption crackdown produced over $106 billion in financial settlements, following the arrest of several princes and dozens of elite businessmen. The Syrian regime launched a military assault to recapture the last cities of rebel-occupied territory around the capital, which killed over 500 civilians within the first week, and dozens more during a suspected chemical weapons attack that was deployed in the following months. Violent clashes between Palestinian protesters and the Israeli Defense Force erupted at the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip, and have reoccurred weekly since the end of March. The IDF have been repeatedly accused of using disproportionate force, with the toll currently standing at 143 Palestinians killed and over 15,000 injured. In a lighter story, the international blockbuster Black Panther became the first film to be screened in Saudi Arabian cinemas in over 35 years, as part of a series of modernisation reforms that will reverse the existing ban on movie theatres and enable over 40 new cinemas to open within the next 5 years. Against domestic and foreign advice, President Trump announced that he was pulling the United States out of the Iran nuclear deal. The withdrawal unravelled years of joint diplomatic progress, isolated key European allies, and risks a potential nuclear arms race in the Middle East if the deal collapses. And in the past month alone, the Broadway musical The Band's Visit, a story underpinned with themes of understanding between Arabs and Israelis, swept the Tony Awards. Women in Saudi Arabia became eligible for driver's licenses when the regime lifted its ban on female motorists, and Jordan's Prime Minister was forced to resign after nationwide protests against a controversial tax bill.
So I think the Middle East is definitely going through an extremely delicate, important and predictable phase, and we are yet to see the outcome of that.
This is only a small snapshot of what's been a huge year in the Middle East. Many of these events are still unfolding, and luckily we've got the next 12 episodes to break it all down. We have to go to a break, but stick around as the ABC's Head of Investigative and In-Depth Journalism, John Lyons, joins us to discuss the years he spent as a foreign correspondent in the Middle East.